What a surprise and honor it's been to have my friend Tiffany take over my Instagram account. She's going to be joining us live. She almost died in a snowbank and had a dream from her grandfather. So we're going to invite her on. We were talking earlier, she was going to go live by herself, and she says, "Why don't you join me?" So give me a second to add her in. And then if you haven't seen the Instagram stories that she's doing, they are amazing. Please check them out. So just give me a second. THE New York. Here she is. We just have to wait for her to join us, and I have a list of questions I want to ask her and interview her today, which this was supposed to be my day off, but it's okay. I'm going, oh my gosh, I actually had a day off from Instagram, and then I'm doing this instead.
You don't get a day
Hey,
off.
Tiffany, how are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
awesome. People are loving your takeover.
Yay! I am loving doing this takeover.
So why don't you share your story in just a summary for those that don't know?
A summary. Oh my gosh. I've shared my story so many times.
No,
Like
it's
trying to
awesome.
summarize it is so hard because it's such a long, detailed story.
Go from the heart, go from the spirit. I forgot to call you to do an opening prayer for this, but I did one before I go on. So
All right. So basically,
let us know where you're from in the comments and what questions you have for Tiffany, even though you can still ask them in the stories. Sorry, Tiff.
I thought you wanted me to explain where I'm from. I'm like, so I'm from New York.
we're two blondes. Well, I'm chemically enhanced.
I'm naturally blonde, but I color it so much. Who knows what color I naturally am anymore?
Forget. So, a summary of your background as to what caused you to join the church. You passed out in a snowbank. You were battling with addiction.
So I'm from a small town, upstate New York. I actually lived an hour and 20 minutes from Palmyra and never knew it existed. How crazy is that?
Al Caraway said the same thing, and she only lived 40 minutes away.
Like I heard of Elmira, I knew of Rochester, but I never heard of Palmyra. So Missionaries started, I switched jobs, and Missionaries were volunteering at the work that I switched at in January. They'd already been volunteering, stuff like that. And then I started working there, and I remember this is the funniest part. I remember they're like, you need to text the elders and see if they can come help with the food truck. And I'm like, okay, I can text the old people, no problem. And I'm just like, do they know how to text? And so I send this text message to the elders, and they're texted back, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, with a smiley face. And I remember going around my office being like, oh, the old people know how to use emojis. Like, I thought it was the cutest thing ever. Had no idea.
Love that. Love that.
And so when it gets time for it, these two like young missionaries show up, and I'm like, who are you? Of course, back then I had a lot more colorful language. And
me too. Converts have a past, and you and I were a hot mess.
I'm still a hot mess. What are we talking about? And so these two young kids show up, and I'm like, who are you? And they're like, we're the elders. I'm like, no, you're not. You're old. I mean, elders are old. You're young. And they're like, elders, we're missionaries. I'm like, what? Still, this was in January. I did not know what an elder was, or that they were even Church of Latter-day Saints missionaries until April.
Okay.
Like, isn't that just wild?
It took a while. It took a while. But see, that's what we're about, is about doing service projects. I do service projects with the elders all the time because they need another man there because there's a woman at the farm. So yeah. So let's go into your addiction.
So I actually I figured I'd share this part in a post.
Okay.
But I guess I could put this in the story as well. So this was fast forward to 2015. I smoked cigarettes. I drank from time to time, but I never did drugs of any kind,
Yeah.
ever. I mean, I kind of got addicted to oxycodone from a surgery, but it wasn't like bad. My biggest thing was I would drink on occasion, and I
Sister, I'm
smoked
sorry.
cigarettes.
Our sister, look who's on from the
I know.
Philippines.
I see that.
We have to give, okay, so there is a sister missionary that served in Palmyra on from the Philippines right now. Sister Gomeris, but she got married. I don't know her new name. And she's on. So if she witnessed both of our transformations, she's the one that taught me the plan of salvation. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had goosebumps and I could feel my brother and feel the persecution. And then you met her too. Share that.
I don't remember if I met her or not. I think I did, but I don't 100% remember. But we know who each other are.
Okay.
So she actually trained a bunch of the sister missionaries I knew, and she knew all of my elders. And so I can't remember. She'd have to refresh my memory on that, whether she was at the site. But I know she went home like when I was taking missionary lessons. I don't remember if I was baptized yet or not.
Okay.
But she definitely knew my story on the mission, and I knew who she was, but I can't remember if we met each other or not. But we
Yeah.
definitely both know who we
She's
are.
she's in my book and all over my YouTube videos. Only meeting once. But
It's
that's
amazing how like one time can just change
well,
change so much.
Tiffany, I don't know if you know this, but people that are serving at like Salt Lake at a visitor center, or let's say Temple Square, or they get called to serve in Japan or Honolulu, Hawaii, they don't see the progress of what happens after they touch someone's life. So in this case, there was a senior missionary couple serving, and his father was in our stake presidency. And so they said, by chance, did you meet this guy? You know, whatever. And they were like, yes. So it was just this random thing that the world is so small. So through that, they were able to get back to Sister Gomeris what my progress was, and that I was being baptized 3 weeks later. And that's huge for people serving at a visitor center, because they don't usually get to see that.
Um, I think it's crazy how small the world is, how small the church is, yet it's so big. I
Mm.
remember I went to Harmony, and so they share. So Harmony sites and the Palmyra sites, they shared like the same like temple president, and so he would always see me at Palmyra, but then he'd see me at Harmony, and he'd always be like, "Does the Palmyra sisters know that you're cheating on them with the Harmony sisters?" And I had a blog going on when I first got baptized, and I I wrote a blog about how I compared joining the church as to being a vampire. And somebody had walked up to me that I did not even know, literally walked up to me and they're like, "Are you the girl that wrote a blog about being a member's like being a vampire?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, that's me."
That's hilarious. So that's a great story. I love that. And I want to say hello to our friends in Brazil, and also we have Latin American friends and people from Europe that just let us know that they're on. So, and there's a testimony. Do you want to read that from Latter Day Josh?
Yeah, so I actually Josh got was in Canandaigua, which is not too that far away from me, and he lives out here in Utah now too.
Awesome.
He wrote, "I got my first testimony of the Book of Mormon from Sister Rosenberg, who was serving at the sites during the pageant."
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear that story. And if you ever want to do an Instagram takeover, let me know because I would love this. This has been amazing. So I know you're going to go live several other times throughout the next day and a half that you're going to be doing this Instagram takeover. And when I do Instagram takeovers, it's been a while, but it's always the second time I go live. I'm like, what do I talk about? I've already shared everything the first time. And so I kind of want to go with the spirit. If you feel comfortable sharing something, go for it. But I want people to know that you're going to be going live several times. And if you haven't seen in my Instagram stories, so the adversary did not want us I can say this as my testimony. No.
Absolutely. We were supposed to do this 2 weeks ago.
Yep. And what happened was trying to get her to log into my Instagram account, flagged my account with Instagram. They shut me down and said, when I was speaking to them, because I have a blue check mark next to me, I can chat to Instagram. When I was speaking to them through customer service, they said they shut me down for inappropriate posting. And I'm like, I'm a Christian. There's nothing inappropriate about what I'm posting. And they said, well, it may have contained sexual content or this. I'm like, no, no. And so,
It was funny because you and I were both were laying in bed, separate beds, separate states. Just throwing that
yeah,
out there. And we're
Connecticut.
like,
Tonight I'm in Rhode Island. You're in Utah.
and so we're both like laying in bed, and I'm like trying to log in, and I'm like, it's not letting me log in. And you're like, I'm clicking it, and I'm like, but it's not working. And so I just kept clicking, 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 and so we were texting, and then we like called each other, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I broke your
It's
Instagram.
It wasn't you. It was the serpent, because it was like the next day I wasn't allowed to post for 24 hours or 48, I forget, because I was blocked for inappropriate posting. And I'm like, that did not. So then it just, yeah, the adversary did not want you to share your story. And that's why I want us to go by the Spirit, because you're going to do this tomorrow and, whenever you want, if that makes sense.
I officially have access to all of Dennis.
She does. She's just Dennis. And you get to see all the hatred comments I get and all that
Oh
fun
my gosh.
stuff.
I had to mute my phone because between my personal Instagram, my New York account Instagram, your Instagram, and then I run my company's Instagram. So that's 4
Yeah.
Instagrams and all the notifications, but they're all coming from yours and they're all like this anti stuff and hate stuff. I was like trying to sleep and my phone just kept going buzzing, 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 buzzing. And I'm like, I'm never going to get to sleep.
I've shut mine off. I have 0 notifications on everything. My Apple Watch, when I first started doing Instagram, my Apple Watch, I felt it kept electrocuting me. Bzz, bzz, notification, notification. And I'm like, I can't handle this. So I shut it off, and now I can't even imagine. It's just, and especially with YouTube, it just would be crazy. So I have all notifications off, hence the fact I don't check DMs. I can't. It's too much. You see how many DMs I get. It's too much for one
Even the
person.
notifications are crazy.
I know.
Um,
So,
So
but
one thing, while I have you on here and we're together, I
yeah.
kind of wanted to like you and I touch base on. So somebody had asked the question, and I answered it in the stories like the best I could. How you and I had met,
Yes.
and it's so wild. So I'm gonna give my little,
Yep.
and then I want you to give yours.
Perfect.
So, one of the missionaries that was serving out here in Orem that lived in my basement, he had actually was just like, "Hey, have you heard of this gay guy?" And I'm like, "Well, I've heard of a lot of gay guys." I'm like, "You need to be a little bit more specific here." And he's like, "Well, he's a member of the church." I'm like, "There's a lot of hidden gay members that are members of the church." I'm like, "Once again, you need to be more specific here, dude." And he's like, "Well, he has a book." I'm like, "Okay, that's a little bit more specific, but you're not helping me out here." And so he tells me about your book. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I go on Amazon and I buy it. I buy one for me and I buy one for him because I kind of knew that, like, I kind of had suspicions, but I'm like, I'm not going to do anything and I'm not going to like go into this in case anyone's watching can figure things out. And so I got it for him as well, which actually was a very good godson for him as well. And so I'm reading it and I'm just like, oh, I wonder if this guy has Instagram. And so I look you up and I'm like, well, I'm not going to follow him for my personal one because anyone that's church related, like, even though my personal one's like pretty churchish too,
Yeah.
it's also more about my personal life. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to follow him from my church one. And so I did. And I happened to be like watching something. And the fact that you barely check your messages and the fact that you can't ever check your messages. And I happened to like, and I don't even know why. I did the video I was so nervous about doing the video, and I'm just like, oh, there's so many people that's gonna see my face. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But I mean, it was already getting like super hit, like lots of hits, all this kind of stuff. Like the apartment I live in, my landlords even saw the video and made a comment about it the day I came to look at the apartment. And so I happened to it was definitely the spirit and God,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I only shared it to my Facebook. At that point, I didn't even share it on my Instagram,
Yep.
just my personal
And
Facebook
I
page.
think I found it on a Facebook page.
Well, I
And
thought,
that,
did I send it to you? I think I sent you the link for the Facebook page
yeah, I
or
don't
something.
remember, but I remember I reshared it in my Instagram, on my Instagram page, and I was so moved. You were passed out in a snowbank wearing Uggs,
That's the
and
part you remember constantly is the Uggs part. I love
and that's because Oprah did it as her favorite giveaway for
it.
Christmas. So anyway, and then it was like snowbank to salvation, and then you had a drink. You share this.
um, so I was on a lot of drugs and alcohol. Kind of touched base about this a little bit at the beginning. And so, like I was saying, my dad died in 2015. And 2 days before my dad had died, um, I had somebody that had drugged me and raped me. And it was 2 days before my dad had died. And it was the day that I had put in the stuff to put him on complete comfort measures. And I was like, how did this happen? Like, I woke up the next morning covered in bruises, cigarette burns, and I'm just like, that just happened. And I couldn't even process it because that was the day I got the call, this like, hey, you need to get down here. And so I couldn't process that because at the same time my dad was dying. We didn't even know he was sick until 2 weeks before he died.
Wow.
And never did drugs, anything like that. And then it was like the day after he died, because my dad was a pothead. I mean, it was the times.
I love your honesty.
And I think that's why he declined so fast, is once he was in the hospital, he couldn't smoke pot. And so, my brother and I was cleaning out his house and we found my dad's stash. And I'm just like, okay, let's smoke one for dad. And I started with pot.
Yeah, that was the gateway. Same
My
with my
drink.
same with my brother, who, and those that don't know, my revelation to the church was my younger brother came to me. This is why I resonate with Tiffany so much, from the other side of the veil, and said, "Join this church for our salvation." And he died in 2004 from a drug overdose, and pot was his gateway. And he said that he would only do it on the weekends, and then the weekend started on Thursday, then they started on Wednesday, and then they were 7 days a week. And then he went to cocaine, and when he couldn't afford cocaine, he went to crack. And it's just, it spiraled until my 81-year-old grandmother at the time found him dead on the floor of my parents' home when they were on vacation. So I resonate with Tiffany's story.
And
So
that's
Tiffany,
why we connected.
yeah,
Um,
take it over.
it does. It just starts with pot, and you don't think that it's anything's gonna like come from it. You're just like, that's safe. It's whatever. Started with that, and then
But
my
now
drink,
that it's medical, yeah, anyway.
and then my drinking picked up, and it went from, like you said, just drinking on the weekends to where I was locking alcohol in my desk at work and drinking from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, and then I was snorting oxy, and then I was just taking oxy, and I used to carry around this little pill bottle. I called it pill roulette. Had no idea what was in it. I would just pop them or snort them depending on what I wanted. And then I got into coke, and that's what I was on when I
Yeah.
overdosed, and for all purposes died. I mean, it took two things of Narcan to bring me back.
Wow. How many hours do you think you were in the snowbank in the frigid, cold upstate New
It
York?
was at least an hour.
Yeah.
So an hour that we know of. It'd been about an hour since anybody had last, like an hour and a half since anybody had last seen me, but they don't know when I exactly disappeared.
Okay.
I was also on shrooms at the time, And so this part you're going to find kind of funny. I was outside galloping on my unicorn.
Oh my.
Outside
Yeah.
a unicorn, and
Yeah.
I was tripping, and at some point I passed out, fell, don't really know.
Yeah.
And by the time my friends had found me, I was in a snowbank, completely cold. Like by the time I came to, my grandfather died when I was 4, and he's the one that came to me, and he's like, "You have 2 choices. One, you can go with me, but 2, I really need you to go back."
Mm.
And I apparently chose to go back because I woke up in a shower, having my body warmed up and covered in my own vomit. And it made no sense to me. I'm like, why does he want me to go back?
Mm.
Like, what's going back mean? And then that was the week that I actually found out these missionaries were what they were. And they invited me to church. And it just blows my mind. And that grandfather's line, I've gotten his line too. I was actually doing family history work today, and I have his line to like BC.
Oh
And
wow.
I have a friend, he does some of my guy initiatories for me every Friday. And I have a name for him to do next Friday that's from 0858.
Wow. Wow. I have that testimony too because I'm the only convert in my family, and I've traced the Schleicher side back, my German side back to BC.
You have German side?
Yep.
How did
You
we
went to,
not have like this discussion?
well, Schleicher, hello.
Bro,
Grandmother's maiden name, rival, hello. Her maiden
so
name was Schillings.
So do you remember Clayton? You met him in Hawaii. He just
Yes.
commented Jehovah Witnesses.
Oh,
So
oh.
I thought they were Jehovah Witnesses for the longest
Hey,
time. And so
hey,
that
Clayton,
like
it's good to see you again.
he's like not Jehovah Witnesses.
No, not
I
yet.
was like literally searching what do Jehovah Witnesses believe?
Yeah.
Because I thought they were Jehovah Witnesses this whole time.
So Clayton that just logged on, I had the opportunity to meet him for like an hour, and we went live on my YouTube channel and told Tiffany's story, but he was the missionary that taught her. And we met up, the 4 of us met up in Hawaii.
I don't like what was the crazy thing though? You and I also were in Hawaii at the same time, but we were on different islands.
Yep.
But I was island hopping to go to the temple that day, and you were like right there, and we just met up and we did a
Yep.
random live.
Yeah, I know. We did. Like we weren't even there like 30 seconds. And I'm like, do you want to go live on my YouTube channel? And you're like, sure. And he was like, sure. So we just went out to the pool of the Courtyard Marriott in right next to the the temple and BYU Hawaii, and we went live, and it was great. And I met his beautiful wife. Oh, did she have her baby yet?
She did.
Good.
I'm a fairy godmother.
Oh, congratulations, and congratulations to Clayton and his wife.
How precious that Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday. That's awesome. What a blessing.
I see Kim commented, this is great. How did you get back so far on your line? I have some German ancestry too. So I'm actually planning on doing a post tomorrow about my family history and my ancestry line, some of that. So I don't want to share that now because I want to be able, because I've got like the whole thing written up and pictures. So
she's a pro.
look at that post tomorrow.
Yes. And you know, and if you have not seen these stories, you have to, but I believe she's sharing them to what is it called? She's helping me with my Instagram now. She's like making cleaning it up, I guess.
Oh, your highlights.
Oh, it's now being saved to a highlight called Instagram takeovers or something. I don't know.
So you can see them whenever you want. I've titled that one the New York Unicorn takeover.
Yep.
Dennis, you probably haven't been on your Instagram, but I also fixed your highlights and made you all new highlight covers.
Awesome. Thank you. Because, you know, I'm not good at this. Dennis, party of one.
Hey, I have access to your stuff now. I will help keep you cleaned up a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So your grandfather came to you, and we're not Jehovah Witnesses. And then the missionaries taught you something that your grandfather said.
Oh, so they didn't teach me something my grandfather said. What happened is we went to church that Sunday, and the second hour, if Clayton's still watching, he might remember the talk because I can't remember the talk for certain. It was a talk in second hour, because this is back when it was 3-hour block.
Yeah. I was 3 hours too when I was baptized.
And so it was gospel principles.
Yep.
And the lesson was about President Nelson. Someone in President Nelson's family had came to visit him in a dream or something like that and wanted their temple work done. And I was like, okay. So I was Baptist growing up, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, people don't people in dreams. Another little off topic. When my dad had died, this was like maybe a year or 2 years later, my dad came to me while I was sleeping. Hold on. Clayton says, we watched the video where President Nelson talks about his experience with his grandfather on the other side of the veil. I'll have to look for that. Clayton, if you know which video it is, text it to me so I can upload it to Dennis's
stories.
stuff.
And then also you can send the video to me, Tiffany.
Yes.
Okay, text me. Yeah.
So, couple years before all of this, my dad had come to me while I was sleeping. Like, I woke up out of a dead sleep to the smell of his cologne. Wow. And the foot of my bed, and he's like, call your brother. I'm like, what? And he's like, call your brother. And so I went to call my brother, and my brother was about to drive drunk. And so I went and picked him up, and I'm just like, this is crazy. I'm like, I was just drunk or high myself and imagining things, because dead people don't come visit you. And I had that experience with my grandpa. And then my first church service was literally that. And I'm like, maybe I'm not crazy, or if I am crazy, there's a whole religion that's crazy and having the same experiences as me. And so I remember, this is the funniest part. I remember, like, we're in the hallway, and it was Mother's Day. My first ever church service was Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
And they're like, do you have any questions? And I'm like, actually, I kind of do. And they're like, that's great. We don't have time to answer them today, but let's schedule a time to meet up. I got tricked into lessons. And I mean, I can't say I'm mad about it, because I mean, I got to hang out with cute guys like 3 times a week. And then they were always supposed to buy me Reese's cups, and they never did.
Hey, Al Caraway in upstate New York, her missionaries brought her a steak.
I know. Mine couldn't even bring me Reese's cups. And when they did buy them, they'd eat them before they got them to me.
That's funny. So I'm house sitting right now, so I just got to let the dog out. So keep talking.
Okay.
Because I'm dog sitting for some friends in Rhode Island, and their little cockapoo or whatever. I don't know. What is your name? Bo, Boo, Do? I don't know. But it's got to go out. Okay?
I'm going to go through and read some comments.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go potty.
Letter-Day Josh says, must be nice to have regular church for your first time. Mine was state conference. State conference was like a big game changer for me. Josh, were you in the Palmyra stake as well? I can't remember if we were in the same stake or if we were in a different stake.
So let's go to your baptism. The missionaries asked you to be baptized, and you were like,
His last day in Bath, he was getting transferred, and we met up at the park, and Clayton walks up to me. I mean, they both walk up to me, and Clayton goes, we have a question for you. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm going to fast forward this real quick. So we had state conference that Sunday, and I had written letters to both Clayton and Austin. Austin's got mailed to him. Clayton's, I got handed to him, but I'm like, you cannot read this until you get back from your mission. Mm. And in the cards, like the cards, it kind of talks about how I really do want to join the church, but I was scared. And I hope by the time they were reading these after their missions, I would have went through with it. And if I didn't, they couldn't hate me. I mean, I don't remember word for word what I wrote in them, but I had just given them to them. And Clayton swears to this day he never read my card or my letter before my baptism.
I believe it, because members are honest.
I believe him, but I like giving him crap, because I was like, the way things happen, I'm like, you had to have known. But so
the spirit.
The next day, he's the one who asks, he's like, we have a question for you. would you like to get baptized? And I'm like, yes, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I think about it? And in my head, I was still not going to go through with it. Like, there was no way I was getting baptized in my head. Like, it's not happening. Not doing this. Clayton, I read it the night of the day you were baptized, if I remember correctly. But so I'm just like, I'm not getting baptized. This isn't happening. And then Clayton leaves and Noah comes on. And my lessons got a lot more intense because then Clayton wasn't there to keep Austin a little bit under control. At
Yeah.
that point, Austin's like, it's got to happen. And it's just how it all happened is just like, it's just a testimony that like everything happens how it's supposed to happen. Those 3 missionaries, there is not a doubt in my mind they were not supposed to be mine. And there's a Matt Siemens that just joined. He was actually one of the him and his wife were one of the senior couples that was in our branch as well. Him
Awesome.
and his wife served in the Palmyra Temple, and they helped me so much of my names done.
Done.
I
So
just
they must know President and Elder and Sister Nielsen that served a senior missionary for like 10 years, 12 years up there. And they know Al Caraway, our friend Al, and Sister Gomeras, who served there in 2017 when I was looking into the church. So yeah, it's just life does a 360. I love it. And Al's bishop, her tattoo artist, was inactive, and said to her something like, "Why don't you get your tattoos finished?" And she goes, "Oh, I became a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." Bared her testimony, and he was like, and he ended up rejoining the church, and he requested her about a year and a half ago to do a fireside, and he was the bishop, and she didn't know he was the bishop or that he had been.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when Austin was going home, I threw him a retirement party. And so I went to like our local party store, which was in Horseheads, and I was like buying like these retirement balloons, like all these like retirement decorations.
For elders.
Yes. And this lady at the counter, she goes, "Oh, is your grandpa, dad, somebody retiring?" I'm like, "It's a 19-year-old boy." And she's like, "Is it a Mormon missionary?" And I'm like, "Are you LDS?" And she's like, "I'm not, but my husband was a long, long time ago."
Oh.
And I ended up giving her my link to my blog, shared my little testimony with her at the store. No idea what happened with it. But the fact that like just some random lady in a checkout counter, when I said I was throwing a retirement party for like a 19-year-old boy, knew exactly what I was talking about. I'm like, this is wild.
There's something I call it Latter-day Saint Tourette's. Like I was opening the door at the mall once, and this was like 2018 or something, and this woman walked by me, and I just saw this aura, and I blurted out, "Moroni," like, and she was like 30, 50 feet away from me now, and she turned back, and she's like, "Member of the church?" And we're like, "Yes," and I've done that like just a minute. I just blurted it out, and they perk up. Yes. So
I love when people have their name is Nephi, but then they pronounce it Nephi. And I'm like, well, you used to be a member, but you don't want people knowing that no more.
no more. That's a good point. Hello, brother Richard from Alberta, Canada. You guys, you're awesome. Yeah. So that's a really, really. This has been like an amazing journey, and I know that I said to you the other day, I don't care, because I said the more stories you share on Instagram, the lower the engagement is, because people back out of them or whatever, and Instagram doesn't push them out. I don't know what it is, but I said, but it's not about the number of engagement. It's about, even if you just touch one person, Tiffany, one person, that's all that matters. And I know you're touching a lot more than one. But I feel inspired to ask you for your testimony. You highlighted a verse in Mosiah, and I don't have that particular Book of Mormon, but it's your favorite verse.
Oh,
and yeah.
Wait, you keep talking. I'm going to grab it because I got notes on my
Okay,
scriptures
perfect.
about that. So you talk. I will be right back.
Awesome. Sandy, you're awesome. Thank you for buying the badges. That means a lot. Dennis, can you pick members out at the airport? Yes, I can. And even remember when Sandy, remember when we were in line to go up at the World Trade Center in New York City, and I looked at these six women and I says, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they go, yes. And I got a picture with them on top of the World Trade Center a couple of years back. So yeah, I can spot them all over, whether it's in New York City or in the World Trade Center. And Tiffany's going to share with us her notes that she has on, I believe, Mosiah, this scripture, and what does it mean
Mosiah 7:33.
to her?
But if you will turn to the Lord with full purpose of heart and put your trust in him and serve him with all diligence of mind, if you do this, he will, according to his own will and pleasure, deliver you out of bondage. So for me, I had to literally give up everything to join the church.
Yeah.
I had to give up everything to move to Utah.
Yeah.
And so I literally had to turn to the Lord and give him my entire heart, like nothing left. I had to fully submit from like down to ashes. I'm yours. And in order to like literally submit, it's like you have to serve him with all diligence of your mind.
Do.
And like sometimes that's hard because as converts, our minds sometimes go places they shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to like check ourselves.
Yeah.
But he does say, if you do this, he will, according to his own will and pleasure. Pleasure, it's like he enjoys it.
Yeah.
It is pleasurable to him to save us and rescue us and for us to like love him.
Yeah.
Deliver us out of bondage. And we are in bondage. Like
We all
everything we do to ourselves, like every day is like, as an addict, every day I have to make the conscious decision that I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to smoke. Anytime something bad happens in my life or I get sad, it's like that's where my mind goes. And I'm not going to. I mean, next month will be 6 years sober and clean.
That's awesome.
But that doesn't mean that my mind doesn't go there because I am in that bondage to my past and my addictions. And I have that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to like falter or all that. So that is my all-time favorite verse.
I love that. I love that. I want to close with my testimony, but I want to share what came to my mind next when you go live is to talk about how you overcame your addiction through him and your struggles being single in Utah, if that's something you're comfortable with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was supposed to be on a date tonight and it got rescheduled. So
I know. That's why we're here.
So I'm sitting here eating Oreos going live with Dennis because being single in Utah sucks. So if any of you are single and looking or you know somebody, hit me up.
Yeah, hit her up. But that's why. Okay, so I got to tell you a funny story. I can't believe I'm going to share this. So when I saw your Instagram post you did, I had to accept the collab for it, where you're like, I was sitting on the toilet, I'm holding my iPad, and I click on it, it goes, are you ready for this? And it started beating, and I'm like going, dun, 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 dun. And I was bouncing back and forth, and I'm like, are you ready for this? I'm like, this is sassy. And she's like all in her baptismal suit, like, are you ready for this?
There's a reason I picked that song. Have I ever told you the reason behind that song?
No.
Okay, so the day before my baptism, I almost canceled it. They'd called me to do all of like the stuff with like my full name, my parents' names, like doing my like stuff to get my records ready. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's the day before my baptism. And I'm like, I can't do this. And they're just like, yes, you can. You're freaking out. And I'm like, I have nothing to wear. They're like, you have clothes. And I'm like, no, I don't. All of my clothes are slutty and skanky, and I can't get baptized in slutty and skanky clothes. And they're just like, Tiffany, just wear what you wear to church on Sundays. And I'm like, but they're slutty and skanky. I can't get baptized in that. And they're like, you're going to wear a white jumpsuit. It's fine. And these two elder boys, they're just like, just don't wear colorful bras and underwear and you're fine.
Yeah, and you're fine.
And
You're
so
fine.
I made them come to my house. They picked my outfit for me. And you know
Wow.
what? They did a good job.
Yeah.
Like, if you go look at the post about like with all ready for this, the picture with the yellow skirt and stripes, they picked that outfit right down to the belt.
Wow. That's
And
awesome. They got style.
they do. And then so the
So
next day is time for my baptism. And I called them that morning and they didn't answer because they thought I was calling to cancel, so they didn't answer. And so I called them again and they answered. And as soon as they said hello, I had that song playing. Y'all ready for this? Da-da-da-da-da. And then the song played out and then I hung up on them. Like, that was it.
I love
And
it.
and then this is a fun part too. I love telling people that I got baptized with knives in the font. So the seal was broken in our font at my branch. And so they had to start filling it with water, took like a grocery bag and butter knives to suction it because they knew that if they had to reschedule my baptism because the sealant wasn't working, it wasn't happening.
Only
So
members of the church would know how to do this.
so that's why I chose that song for that picture. Y'all ready for this? Because I'm like, it's perfect. It was like my baptism. Like, y'all ready for this?
I love it. I
So
love it.
D Rotelli 99. So I call him Noodles.
Yep.
He's from Italy. He lived in my basement when I first moved to Utah. He was one of the missionaries. Him and I have a crazy story together too. Like, there's no way him and I should have ever met, but we did. And I renamed him Noodles.
I love it.
He says, Tiffany, you always talk about how missionaries have changed your life. You have changed their lives too,
Yep.
as you have changed mine. I always treasure your testimony.
Yeah.
I love you, Noodles.
Well, I'm grateful for Noodles serving, but Olive says beautiful testimony, heart. Dreamer of Books 21 says, ironically, when one of the elders who helped me greatly gave me a nice copy of the Book of Mormon before he left. Even if I never join the church, it will always be my most treasured possession.
Aw.
I love that. So our friend Dreamer of Books is not a member, but we still love her like, like everybody else. And that is a beautiful testimony. It really means a lot. I said hello to our friends in Australia, and we have somebody that says I have an old mission companion who is single in Draper, Utah. So is
I
he
live
old or how old? Like,
I'm not gonna say where I live because there's a lot of followers, but let's just say I live about 15, 20 minutes away from Draper, but I'm not saying which direction.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
I'm like, no one needs to know exactly where in Utah I
No,
live.
no. Well, according to Instagram, it's off the side of I-15 in the swamp, or not the swamp, but that salty area, because it tells you somebody is trying to log into your account from.
I know.
Anyway,
And I'm like, I'm nowhere near
no, you're
that.
not. But I think they do that just to protect people's location.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle, we love you back. And again, be sure to check out the stories. Help that algorithm hold down on that screen so that more people can see her beautiful testimony.
And add
And
more
tomorrow,
questions in the question that's on there.
and our
I'm gonna
friend,
try to answer as many as I can, but there are a lot.
and it
But feel free to ask
it
some.
expires like in 30 minutes or something. So, and then the questions go away. So I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works.
Either.
But our friend Jim is happy. He lives in Utah. He says, Tiffany, your story is your Tiffany, your story makes me think of 2 Nephi. He's our scriptorian, by the way. Jim is happy. He's a convert too. You both have such wonderful spirits. Jim, I knew Tiffany would be amazing at this takeover. And that's what I've been feeling from the spirit, is to have more people take over my Instagram that want to share a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because I think now more than ever, we need to flood social media with the gospel. I just did a YouTube video talking about the myths of the church and got 800 views, which for me on YouTube, that's viral. But my point is, so many people have misconceptions, but they were inspired by all the anti-comments that I get. We're in a cult. We're this. We're, you're not Christian.
I
You
hear
don't
that
believe
from
in
my
this
family
thing,
every
Jesus.
day.
Yep. And it's so important that that I feel now more than ever we need to flood social media with the testimony. But I feel redundant sharing. I stole the Book of Mormon. Didn't realize we gave away for free. Or I almost started an LGBT protest at the
I
dedication of the Harvard Temple.
love that story. Because like the thing is, though, is any Marriott they give them away for free. I worked at a Marriott when I was 18 years old. I did not know like that it was like a Mormon, an LDS thing. Knew nothing about it. I was a housekeeper. All I knew is that every nightstand had to have a Book of Mormon in it and a Bible. Had no idea what a Book of Mormon was. I knew what a Bible was. Had
Yeah.
no idea what a Book of Mormon
But
was.
you probably
But I
never
knew
read the
that they
Bible.
always had to be in there.
Yeah.
And so we always had to check. And if there was ones missing, we just had to put another one back in. So when I found out that you stole one from a Marriott, I was like laughing.
I know. That's what they're there for, is to give away. Now I know that. Back then I didn't. I was doing it out of spite, but that goes to show. And you said something that we were a hot mess. Yes, we were, but converts have a past, but even members have a past. And you said that converts, sometimes our minds go in directions that it may not should go, or we choose the right. That's why we're the CTR ring on my
No, I'm not
wedding
wearing any
gift.
of my rings
That's
today.
okay. But it reminds me to choose to remember him, current temple recommend holder. But I think we all have a past, and that's what the atonement is for. And I'm just really vocal about, when I first joined the church, like when I was first using social media, I would never share a picture of me wearing a tank top, or never share, now it's like I just let it all out there. And I say, this is who I was before. This is, I have a past. We all have a past.
There's pictures on your stories that I posted of me drunk.
Mm.
Like I posted the picture on one of the things I was answering a question, and the picture was taken a couple hours before I
Wow.
died. Like I have all these pictures, and people are always telling me, they're like, you need to delete them. That's not who you are anymore. That's your past.
Yeah.
I can't. I sometimes I need that reminder of where I came
Yeah.
from. And I think people don't necessarily, everybody who knows me now, when they hear about my past, about how I used to get in bar fights and fight
Mm.
people and I've broken people's noses, they're like, that's not you. And I'm like, girl, you have no idea who I used to be. I'm like,
Yeah.
the church is true. The book is blue. If it wasn't, I would not be who you think I am right now.
Exactly. Exactly. I just, I am a firm believer. I mean, I used to say I used to talk like a gay truck driver, because every other word out of my mouth was a swear or using the Lord's name in vain. I was doing it so habitual, I didn't even realize I was doing it. So now when I watch videos of myself and I'm on stage presenting and I'm using, oh gosh, or oh goodness, or oh this, I'm going, who is that person?
I say Gandhi
But
a lot. I'm like, oh, Gandhi.
oh yeah, it reminds me of when I see it, I see the difference. And that's why I keep my feet firmly implanted in the gospel, because I've been on this side and I've been on this side. I've lived so many years, 45 years without this gospel. I can't imagine living the rest of my life without it. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and be sure to check the Instagram stories, share them with your friends, share the post that she's doing this, whatever we can do to flood social media with our Savior Jesus Christ. And our friend Jim is happy, said if to our friend Dreamer of Books, if you ever have questions, reach out to Jim. He is literally a scriptorian. He knows like he can just recite it. I strive to be like Jim. Let me just say that. So, Tiffany, thank you for this. It means a lot.
And like Jenna said, don't forget to check out the stories. I've got some more posts. I'm going to have a couple more posts I'm going to
Yeah.
Post tonight.
And follow Tiffany. Just click on the button up there. I don't know where it is, but there's a button you can click on. It says follow Tiffany.
Yep,
And
I've seen, I've gotten a bunch of like that are following me. So the New Yorker Corn is my like conversion church Instagram. But be sure to follow me, follow Dennis. Um,
well, it's not, I don't believe in followers. You're all
yeah.
friends. No, you're all family. You are all family. And that means a lot to me.
But yes,
So,
make sure to follow the stuff because there's more stories coming and more posts. I've got a couple of posts I'm already. One's tomorrow, and then
yeah.
you don't want to miss out on all of
And
the stuff.
what I'll do, Tiffany, is I will download this. I have to write a description and a title, and I will upload it to my YouTube playlist. I'm going to do one, Meet the Converts or something.
Okay,
All right?
sounds good.
Awesome.
And then keep watching Dennis's stuff for the rest of my stories of my conversion
Awesome.
and just how life is even after getting baptized. Because sometimes it's harder after you actually made the plunge.
And that's where my ward and stake came in. But I want you to talk about the difference between the ward and stake family feeling in upstate New York, or like in my case, Connecticut, or this week it's in Rhode Island, compared to the family in Utah. There's a separation. And I think there's a lot of times people will leave their church and they don't look to the right or look to the left to see what that person's doing, or do they have a place to go for dinner, or did I ever think about inviting this single sister over for dinner. My ward and my stake did that for all the time after being baptized, even before I was baptized, and it taught me that we are family. And I think that's important. So if you have anybody that you feel inspired to invite for dinner, do it, because it is different in Utah. I call it the planet of you all. It's different there than it is on the East Coast or the Midwest or the South. Those wards are more family, and they look after each other. Where in Utah, it's like I've heard stories of the Relief Society, the Elders Quorum presidency saying, well, if they have money to move up here, they don't need our help unloading the U-Haul, or the moving truck. So I think that would never happen in Connecticut or upstate New York. And I think
No, but I
yeah.
do have to give a plug in. When I moved to Utah, the family ward I moved into was amazing.
Mm.
They collected money and bought me so much stuff I needed because the only stuff I had with me was what came in my Chevy Impala. Had nothing
Mm.
else with me. And then the whole entire stake went through and like got me a bed, tables, like
That's
everything. So
awesome.
I mean, but that's very rare. Does that happen?
Yeah.
But then when COVID hit, because I was single, I was the first person that was forgotten about.
Mm. That's unfortunate. And again, I've heard this a lot. A lot of people, hold on, I'm trying to spell my last name.
Oh, you're good.
SCAL. Okay, there it is. Um, Somebody asked what my YouTube channel was. If you just Google Dennis Schleicher, it will come up. Although the verified board on the side, I don't know what's called, the panel about me, it has all my social media, but the YouTube channel takes you to a different Dennis Schleicher. So I don't know who that is. But anyway.
So I just have to say hi to Austin Bland real quick before we get off because he's like commenting. I had missionaries that I've always had missionaries leave me, but he is the only missionary that I
Oh,
left. He was in
oh,
my branch when I moved to Utah.
well, Austin, thank you for serving a mission elder. It means a lot. Without missionaries, I wouldn't be in this gospel. Tiffany wouldn't be in the gospel. And I actually have to close with my testimony. I know that the sister missionaries were called to serve in Connecticut to baptize me, to teach me the lessons. I know that I find great peace and comfort in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I do this by listening to conference talks, by revisiting conference talks, by heeding their advice. And I know that by being baptized and receiving the Holy Ghost, the fourth article of faith, I have become a happier person. And I know that if you're struggling with your testimony, we all struggle, but that's what we got a church family for. And I say that as my testimony in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for this.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. And I will get this uploaded to YouTube as soon as I can write the description and title. That's a lot of work. So if you know anybody who can help me do some of this, it would be awesome. And our friend Richard in Alberta, Canada said, the gospel is for everyone, and we as members need to remember that all are children of God. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of Tiffany's
Takeover.
Instagram takeover. I'll enjoy the day off. Holler.
Bye.
Bye-bye.